All right, y'all. For years, I had no self-control around food. At least that's what I thought. Because every day, I'd overeat, and I'd make a plan, and then I'd still overeat. And I'd tell myself, tomorrow I'll do better. And I'd just keep restarting over and over and over again. And I thought this was a mentality problem. Like I had a problem with my mindset. But in reality, I was just making the same mistakes over and over and over again and not learning from those mistakes. And there was a mental shift where I kind of changed the way I did certain things, and that made everything so much easier. So, for example, right? One thing I used to do all the time is I'd wait until I was completely starving before deciding to eat something. So I really had no idea what I was gonna eat for the day. But once I got really hungry, no matter what it was, I would eat it. Because at the end of the day, hunger always wins, y'all. It's not a if, it's a matter of when. Because eventually, if you get hungry enough, you'll eat anything. And so I'd skip meals, thinking that I'm saving my calories for the rest of the day. I'd maybe skip breakfast and even skip lunch and think that, okay, I got a bunch of calories left for the night. Man, when I tell you that did not work for me, because it got to a point where I'm so hungry that, especially if we're going out or we're going somewhere, we're gonna eat something that's high calorie, I can eat so much of it that I could blow my whole calories out for the entire day in one sitting. And it's really easy to do that. You'd be surprised. Like if you're having pizza or burgers, I would blow through that easily 3,000 calories in one sitting, easily. Drinking sodas, pizzas, if you have ice cream after, a little dessert, very, very easy to do that. And so that saving stuff for the whole day, it was not helping my cause. It really wasn't, I'm telling you. And then another thing is I didn't quite have a plan when I started. So at the end of the day, when I would go and have my meals for the day, I wasn't really planning it out exactly, you know? And so I would open the pantry, look at what we have in the pantry. Probably snacks, probably Pop-Tarts, Doritos, whatever it is, and just eat it when I get a little peckish. You know, I'd go in front of the fridge. What do we got in the fridge? Well, there's some DiGiorno's in there, popping some DiGiorno's into the oven. Whatever, when I lived with my parents, whatever she had in the fridge, my mom, kind of just whatever my sister would cook up, whether it's baked, she loves to bake some cookies, bake some cakes, whatever, and just kind of eat on a need as I need basis type of thing. Just as the day goes on, eat whatever's around. That not having that plan made it so much more difficult to avoid those foods. And so it was a real tough thing, because then I would make decisions when I was hungry as well. So making that decision when I'm already starving and I don't have a plan, so I don't know what to eat, guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna eat whatever I can that's around. And so not planning that out beforehand, well, let's say I have breakfast and I'm not hungry, I'm not gonna be hungry till later, making that decision when I'm full on what I'm gonna eat for lunch. And so doing that made a huge difference, because now I'm thinking, well, I'm not already ravenously hungry or ready to eat something. I'm full, I'm satisfied, and I'm making the decision while I'm in a right mind, because when you're hungry, you know how it is, you know, you're not in your right mind anymore. You just got to eat. So I'm making that decision when I'm in my right mind, so that when the time comes, the decision's already made. I'm not thinking about grabbing stuff because I made a plan for it. And so that was a huge one, really huge one. And then another thing, my environment. So if I surrounded myself, or when I used to surround myself with snacks, chips, pretzels, I love the flips, those chocolate covered pretzel candy snacks, Pop-Tarts, cereal in the pantry, granola bars. The list goes on, right? Y'all get the point. So surrounding myself with those items, it's extremely difficult to avoid them. It just is what it is, right? If my mom buys some donuts, left them in the fridge for me, everybody in the house is eating the donuts, I'm hungry, I didn't make a plan, guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna have some damn donuts. That's just, it is what it is, you know? They get some pizza, there's pizza at the crib, I don't gotta spend money, I didn't have a plan, guess what? I'm gonna eat the pizza. it's my environment made the entire difference with my cravings, because once that food is in front of you, the cravings hit 10 times more. Out of sight, out of mind, you know? So my environment made that huge difference, because now I don't even really crave pizza or donuts. You know, I haven't had them in quite some time. And because it's never in my house, it's so hard for me to get up and go buy a pizza. And it's way easier for me to just eat the meal prep that I have in the fridge. So I don't even have the craving for it because of how much effort it's gonna take just to get the pizza, you know? And so just that alone, I'm tricking my own brain into making it easier to eat healthy. It's the same thing when you're waking up in the morning, right? If you're someone who wants to start getting up earlier, you know what I used to do? I would trick my brain to make it easier to get up than it is to lay in bed. How do I do that? Well, lucky for me, my bathroom was adjacent to my room. So if my bathroom was close by, I would put my alarm in the bathroom, right? So when it goes off, it's still loud enough to wake me up. But to turn off the alarm, I would have to get up and go into the bathroom. And guess what's sitting right in front of me in the bathroom? It's the sink. Guess how I used to wake myself up? Just splash some cold water in my face. So just that alone made it so much harder for me to get up, turn off the alarm, walk back to my bed, and lay back down. Because once I'm in the bathroom and I splash water in my face, now I'm awake. Boom, I'm ready to go. And so there are little ways I had to trick my brain into not being lazy and trick my brain into being more healthy, so that alone made the biggest difference. Especially when we're talking about environment. So you can put yourself in an environment where you'll be successful. You just have to make the decision beforehand when you're not hungry, when you're not already craving. So that way you can stay consistent. And then once you're consistent, those cravings start to go away, y'all. I promise you, I don't crave pizza. I don't wake up now craving pizza all the time, you know, burgers all the time. I haven't had Chick-fil-A in a very long time. I used to have that at least 3, 4, 5 times a week, you know. So changing your environment, it made all the difference for me. It made all the difference. And then another thing that's interesting that I still do this actually, eating too fast, believe it or not. So eating really fast, it's not out of greed. It's more out of, I don't want to waste any of this food. So I need to make sure if it's in front of me, I eat it. And I'm just a quick eater, especially if it tastes good. You know, I'm gonna eat really fast, not allow my brain to catch up with how much food I've actually eaten. Because it's really interesting. I noticed that if I wait too long, or if I wait after I eat, I don't necessarily feel as hungry if I wait 15, 20 minutes after. I used to just eat the whole plate and then grab another plate until I'm full. Now I can eat the whole plate, wait 15 minutes. If I'm still hungry, all right, maybe I'll grab something else, or I'll drink, you know, a 0-calorie drink or something to fill me up. But more times than not, I'm actually not as hungry as I thought I was if I just wait and let my brain catch up. We eat too fast. Like dudes, men, we always eating fast, you know. Women are a little better with that. They eat really slow a lot of the time, so it's easier for them a little bit on that part. But that's a good trick. Eat slower. I started eating slower, and that helped a lot for sure. And so another thing that I've been doing a lot is I thought that every craving needed to answer a response. So when I would get that hunger pang randomly, I thought, okay, I'm hungry, I'm dying, it's an emergency, I gotta get something quick, right? I thought I had to have a whole meal, or I had to at least get a snack to fill me up, to hold me over. And that mentality is kind of flawed, because at the end of the day, as humans, we're gonna get hungry. It doesn't mean you have to rush to eat right away. Sometimes you're not even really hungry, you're just bored, you know? I'll get a craving, and now instead of just immediately thinking, all right, I gotta go eat something right now, drink some water. Have a 0-calorie or a sugar-free soda or something. Fill up my stomach with it. And then after I sit for a while, I drink some water, 30 minutes later, I'm chilling. You know, it's actually not as bad as I thought it was. So those cravings are fleeting. They're not as urgent as we think they are, you know? It took me a really long time to see that, because Another thing is when I had a meal plan and I knew, all right, I have to eat at this time, because I just like having a schedule so I could repeat the same thing every day. You eat at the same time every day, you get hungry at the same time every day. It's easier. So me having that schedule, I know, all right, at 2 p.m. I'm gonna eat. Well, if I'm hungry at 12, doesn't mean I'll have to force myself to eat. I'll just chill for a second, drink some water, relax. 12:30, 12:45, I forget about it. I'm not hungry no more. You know, it's because you're not starving. That's the thing. If you didn't eat all day and it's night, yeah, now you're probably you're getting there. You're getting to starving. But reality is, every couple hours you're not starving. So that little hunger pang, it's there, but it's not as bad as we think it is, man. We just gotta kind of push through it. And me thinking about that, realizing that I gotta stick to my schedule, made me push through a lot of those hunger pangs, and then realizing on the other side of it that it actually wasn't that big of a deal. You know, I wasn't that hungry. I was just a little peckish and a little bored and thirsty. You got to drink water too. Drinking water helps a ton, because sometimes we'll mistake that lack of water, that dehydration, for being hungry, which is another crazy thing that I found out. So I just let it exist. I don't overreact to it. I just let it happen. And then when the meal time comes, I eat my scheduled meal and I'm chilling. You know, it's really that simple, y'all. And then, so in reality, those things were holding me back a lot. Now, here's what actually worked for me. All right. So the first thing, I focus on protein. So while I'm planning my meals out, I'm focusing on getting protein in every single meal. Now the protein, it could be eggs. I eat eggs every single morning for breakfast. I love eggs, right? The protein could be chicken. It could be salmon, ground beef, lean ground beef. You know, even if you want the steaks vibe, you can have a steak. So I'm always planning my meals around protein first, and then fiber. So those two are gonna keep me full. And then I'll add in the carbs, whether it's rice, potatoes, whatever other carb choices you want. I try to avoid noodles, because noodles for me, it don't fill me up as much. But if you like the noodles, throw in the noodles, right? But surround it around protein and fiber first, right? And then another thing that worked for me is cooking for the whole week. I talked about this before. Cook for the whole week, y'all. Like, this is a game changer. Because once you cook that food, you better eat it, because you spent money on it. You know, you're not gonna waste that money, and it's already there. So now you're kind of forcing yourself to eat it for the week. If you cook food for the whole week, you spent maybe $40, $50 on food for that week, right? And it's sitting in the fridge. And then 5 days out of the week, you go out and have Chick-fil-A. Guess what? All that food you just cooked and you wasted money on is going in the trash, because now it went bad. And you wasted money every day buying Chick-fil-A. That's double wasting. We don't do that. That doesn't work. So at the end of the day, once you cook that food, you know you're gonna eat it. It's inevitable at that point, right? Another thing is tracking. We talk about this all the time. I now track every single calorie I put in my mouth. I have my bad days still, where I have my cravings and I fall off the wagon, and I track every single calorie I eat on those bad days too. And guess what? On average, it still works out, because one bad meal or even one bad day is not gonna throw off your entire deficit if you've been consistent for weeks. It just isn't, right? So track everything. Even if you feel like you messed up, track it. Another thing that helps me a lot, 0 calorie drinks. I mentioned this earlier. So I drink 0 calorie soda probably every single day. Yeah, like there's probably not a day where I don't drink a 0 calorie soda or a sparkling water or something with carbonation, because at the end of the day, that fills up my stomach more as well. So if I have that with a meal, if you have that with a meal and the meal filled you up, then that soda or carbonated water is really gonna fill you up. You're gonna feel super satisfied after that meal for an extra hour or two, honestly, just because of that 0 calorie drink there. So I do not drink my calories. I haven't had a cup of orange juice or, you know, regular soda or any of those sugary drinks in a very, very long time. It saves a ton of calories. If you think an extra large fountain drink from like McDonald's or a gas station or anything, it's like 500 calories, y'all. That's your whole deficit in one drink. The difference between that and drinking 0 calorie soda is 500 calories. Think about that. It's a huge, huge difference. And then On top of that, I always plan my treats as well. So I not only plan my meals, but I plan my treats. So if I know this day or this week, I'm going out to get ice cream, guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna get the ice cream. And I'm not gonna starve myself all day just because I'm getting ice cream. I plan it within my meals. And I try my absolute best to make it hit my calories. But if I go a little over my calories one time out of 2-3 weeks, it's not the end of the world. As long as you track it and it's controlled. You know, for the week on average, I'm still in a deficit. Now, the important thing here is tracking and planning it, because if you're randomly doing it here and there and you're not realizing how often it is, that's when it becomes a problem. And so tracking my off-plan meals helps me a ton as well. All right. And then another thing, this is going to sound kind of crazy, but sometimes I just had to have sleep for dinner, man. Like, it is what it is. Sometimes if you feel you had all your meals for the day and you know you're still a little hungry, having that craving, it's getting late, 9-10 o'clock, and we kind of want that extra midnight snack, so to speak, just go to sleep. That's it. Just go to sleep. And guess what? I have breakfast in the morning. You know how many times I told myself, yeah, I'm hungry, all right, I'm gonna have breakfast in the morning. I go to sleep. That's it. It's really that simple. Like, we need more sleep anyway. Most Americans aren't getting enough sleep. So if you just take the time to have your meals, and then when it gets to nighttime and you just turn off the damn phone and go to sleep, it's gonna help a ton. Helps a ton. All right. So me having a set bedtime is really helping me to stay in my deficit as well, because I'm not just overeating in the middle of the night. Right. So I want to end it on this, because one thing that I feel like isn't talked about enough is I still have cravings. Just because I'm making these videos and I'm losing weight and I'm gonna do my transformation video pretty soon, in the next couple weeks or months, it doesn't mean I'm not getting cravings, right? So I still have my cravings, and guess what? I still act on those cravings every once in a while, right? I'm not perfect here. The difference now and back then is that when I do have my cravings and I do go off my plan a little bit, I just make a conscious effort to bounce back the very next day. I don't allow it to bleed into the following day and throw off my whole plan. Because guess what? If you're on a 1,900 calorie diet and you overeat for one day, let's say you go up to 2,500. Let's say you go up to 3,000. You just binge, right? If you're on 1,900 every single day and you binge one day, and this is once out of the whole month of being consistent, you're still gonna be in a deficit. You're still in a deficit for the month. It's not the end of the world. So when I do have those days, I had a couple of them the last few days. I had a wedding I went to, ate whatever I wanted. Before that, it was a birthday, ate whatever I wanted that day as well. And then a couple days before that, I went out with my girl to the movies and we had some food at the movie theater. So that was 3 days in the last 2 weeks that I cheated on my diet. I'm still in a deficit. I've been consistent for the last 4 months. Those are 3 days out of 4 months that I probably went over. Maybe there was a couple other days where I went a little bit over, up to 2,000, 2,100 maybe. But it doesn't affect that much when you're consistent. All right, so stay consistent, and if you fall off, guess what? Go right back to being consistent. Don't make it last more than a day. It doesn't have to. All right, so here's what I want y'all to do. Before you decide what you're gonna eat for your next meal, here's what I want you to do, right? What I want you to do is I want you to plan your next meal for tomorrow, okay? Plan the meal out before you get hungry. All right, and then don't decide on that meal after you're already hungry. So when you wake up tomorrow, eat your normal breakfast that you do, and then right after eating breakfast, plan the next 2 meals for your day, or however many times you eat, whether it's 2 or 3. Plan those next meals for the rest of your day. Let me know how that works for you. If you still end up falling into cravings or everything, comment down below how that works. All right, y'all, lock in.